To give you a little bit of background on Picture the Homeless, Picture the Homeless was founded 8 years ago this month in November. And while Rob is going to give you kind of focus on some other aspects of our background, I really want to talk a little bit about how we do our work. Not just because we're at Columbia University and many folks here are engaged in academic study, but because to us it's critical to combine grassroots organizing and documentation and something that's called participatory research in order to really arrive at solutions to homelessness or other kinds of social problems with folks that are affected by the problems. And it's a lot easier to say that than to actually do it, but I think we've been successful. And the report that is out on the table is one example of participatory research that combines organizing, direct action, even civil disobedience, as well as public policy analysis to come up with innovative solutions. And at Picture the Homeless, we've worked very hard to assert the notion that regardless of where you live, you're a stakeholder in the community that we call New York City. And when we really look at homeless folks, it really isn't accurate to say that anybody is a paycheck away from being homeless. There are folks in our city who are more at risk than others because they're poorer, and that is often also shaped, and is usually shaped by race, and increasingly by gender. So while there have been a tremendous amount of academic studies done, looking at homeless people kind of in a microcosm, I was invited to Sudhir's class a couple weeks ago, and the paper really looked at a shelter as a microcosm, enclosed kind of society where people, because they were in a shelter, were they were described as kind of being cut off from the rest of the city and developing values and worldviews affected by their shelter stay. In reality, people that are homeless are also, neighbors and cousins and fathers and moms and have jobs and they don't lose their identity as part of multiple communities just because they've lost their housing. It may add to and enhance and change your life experience, but it does not negate who you are and where you've been.
Folks, my name is Robert Robinson, and I'm formerly homeless, and I'm a member of an organization called Picture the Homeless. Picture the Homeless was founded on the principle that homeless people have civil and human rights regardless of race, creed, color, or economic status. Picture the Homeless was founded and is led by homeless people. We refuse to accept being neglected. We demand that our voices and experiences are heard at all levels of decision-making that impact us. We oppose the quality of life laws that criminalize homeless people in any form by the city, state, and national governments. We change these laws and policies as well. We work to change these laws and policies as well as to challenge the root causes of homelessness. Our strategies include grassroots organizing, direct action, educating homeless people about their rights, public education, challenging media stereotypes, and building relationships with allies. A little bit of background on the organization. Picture the Homeless was founded in 1999 by two homeless individuals, Anthony Williams and Louis Haggins. Fed up with the way the homeless persons were being treated by the Giuliani administration and seeing the constant dehumanization and oppression of homeless by the administration and mainstream media, they set out to be our voice for homeless New Yorkers and to protect the civil and human rights of all homeless individuals and families. At the same time, homeless people were being criminalized. Landlords were allowed to keep buildings empty. Sort of a conflict there. Our vacant property campaign was born basically out of those situations where we saw people sleeping on the street and we saw people being criminalized for sleeping on the street in front of empty buildings. The vacant property campaign was born out of the Giuliani's administration's crackdown on the quality of life crimes, many of which were aimed directly at the homeless. Under Giuliani's administration, increased criminalization, sleeping on sidewalks in front of vacant buildings or on park benches in lots obviously abandoned by their owners, became more and more of a problem. More and more homeless people were being forced into shelters with no hope of a permanent place to live. The administration seemed comfortable with a quasi-homeless industry, warehousing people in shelters and no hope of getting permanent housing. New York City's Department of Homeless Services was given over $500 million and partnered with nonprofit care providers to create this homeless industry. With no oversight, this industry continued to grow in New York City, and large numbers of homeless people into shelters with no hope of permanent housing. You might ask why we wanted to do a building count. Well, this organization moved from Judson Memorial Park, where they were located originally on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, or Lower West Side, excuse me, in November of 2003. They moved to East 116th Street between 3rd and Lexington Avenue. Almost as soon as the organization arrived, they started to notice a large number of empty buildings in the area. Questions started to arise amongst the members of the organization as, why are these buildings sitting empty when there are so many homeless people that need a place to stay? Why is it a crime for me to sleep on a sidewalk in front of a building when these buildings are sitting empty? Why not take this property and create housing for homeless people? You know, while Picture the Homeless believed there were significant numbers of vacant properties and empty buildings around the city, the belief was a lot stronger in East Harlem, where the office was located. Efforts to convince the Bloomberg administration fell on deaf ears. We would get responses like, there's only a 3% vacancy rate, or the numbers aren't really significant, you know, or the administration's working on the issue. You know, it just didn't seem to be important to the Bloomberg administration. It became apparent to our members that we must take action, and the count was born. This is
And the argument I want to make is that the campaign that Picture the Homeless is leading, is a major part of, is a campaign not just for homeless people, but is a campaign that goes for the benefit of the majority of the people in the city. Homelessness is really the tip of an iceberg, and the iceberg is a big one. We call it the system every now and then. And it's a system that needs changing. It needs changing from the bottom up and from the top down. It's a situation that's getting worse, and a system whose consequences are serious today, and all of the evidence is that the situation is going to get even worse. The name of the system, we shy away from this a little bit because it's so much laden with propaganda and preconceptions. The name of the system is the housing market. What's wrong is that the allocation of the necessities of life ought not to be dictated by the market. That's